Singer-songwriter Johnny Reid has recorded 11 studio albums, won 26 Canadian Country Music Awards, and 6 Junos. The Scottish-Canadian country singer has also topped charts and sold out stadiums around the world. Now Reid has added theater to his resume with the production of Maggie. It's a musical he conceived and co-created with playwright Matt Murray. Based on the life of Reid's grandmother, whom he was extremely close to and called every Sunday until her death in 2009, Reid and Murray spoke with Nicole Sullivan of SaltWire on September 21st about the making of the musical, the importance of Maggie's life, and finding the right actress to take on the iconic role. I know how important your grandmother has always been to you. So tell me a little bit about how this process came about, why you wanted to do this tribute to Maggie in this artistic form.
Well, it started a long time ago. My granny had passed away, and I'd spent years trying to figure out how to bring her back to life. You know, people kept saying to me, "Oh, your granny. I would have loved to have met your granny. Your granny sounded like she was an amazing woman. I would have loved to have met your granny." And one day, my daughter, who was very young, just a baby at the time, was singing a wee song, and it reminded me of my granny. And I thought, how cool would it be to be able to, put my granny on stage and introduce her and her story to all the people that have loved and supported me. So that's kind of how it started. I had no idea how I was going to do that, but I was sharing the idea with one of the background singers, Miku Graham, and she said, "Oh, you really need to meet a good friend of mine." I said, "Who's that?" She said, "Matt Murray." I said, what does Matt do? She said, "Well, he's a playwright. He's a Toronto playwright. And I think that you guys would, if you shared this idea with him, I think he would really, really, think a lot of the idea." So long story short, I flew to Toronto. I called up Matt's agent. He hooked us up. We sat in the hotel lobby, I think the Sheraton in Toronto. And we were supposed to meet for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And we ended up sitting there for 3 or 4 hours talking about this concept of creating a musical based around my granny's life. And that's kind of how it started. And that was, Matt, you can correct me, but I think that was about 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Matt, what was it like for you meeting with Johnny that time? Were you a country music fan, familiar with his music at all?
Well, absolutely. And it's funny because when I got the message from Miku, I thought it was spam for a second. Like I didn't believe it at first. And then I just remember writing back and saying, Johnny Reid, like the singer. And so I think I listened to Let's Go Higher right away. From what I recall, that got me really excited. And the honest answer is I was nervous. I was nervous for the meeting, but as soon as I sat down with Johnny, I was like, oh, I could feel that we were, kindred in many ways. And I was so excited by the prospect of this story. That just had so much richness, it's so much heart, so much community, and such a universal sort of theme. And that, as a writer and as a storyteller, that just got me really, really, really excited. And, here we are 8 years later, and it's been truly the most remarkable journey of my career. It really has been.
So what was it? What was it specifically about Maggie's story that pulled you in, that inspired your creativity to be like, I need to be a part of this? Yes, this is it.
Well, one of the things that really excites me, I think the thing that excites me most about creating theater is the relationship to the audience. I always see the audience as being a silent collaborator in the piece, and I love creating stuff that I think is really going to resonate with people. And there was many things in this story that I thought would, but just her as a fiery woman, a single mother, someone so determined to do right by her dead husband, and see these boys through and raise them in this really hard place, and with friendship and laughter, and there was something about that, like something about her and the energy of her that I thought, wow, so many people are going to sit in the audience and either see themselves in her or know these people. And, to me, I think that is what great theater is. I think it's when the relationship with the audience is so alive. And obviously, following Johnny's career and his love for his audience and that relationship, to be a part of that extension just felt like such a golden opportunity as a theater creator.
So when you were researching the story, Johnny, what was used primarily? Was it your memories of your grandmother, what you've been told? Were there any diaries that she wrote that helped you piece it all together?
No, my granny, she never wrote any diaries. My granny was quite a simple woman. My granny cleaned schools. That was her. She was a cleaner. And we grew up in a very humble part of Scotland, just outside of Glasgow, a place called Lanarkshire. I think the research process for Matt was pretty incredible what he did. He and I sat down for hours on end and recalled my memories, because as you know, our memories of people are different. Like my memories of my granny are probably different than my mom's memories or my dad's memories or friends' memories, etc. So I sat down and gave Matt who my granny was through my eyes. And then Matt took a step further and he actually started talking to family members and people even within the community that had the chance to meet my granny and know my granny. And I think what he said this one time, and I thought it was really poignant. He said, this is a story about an ordinary woman with an extraordinary story, in a very simple way, because she was, I think this is probably somebody that would never have imagined in her wildest dreams that there would be people showing up to watch her on stage. She would actually be quite taken back by it. She was widowed at 21 years old, raised 3 boys by herself, surrounded with friends and friendship, love, family, music, a great sense of humour, And I think the research that went in to the project, I think, Matt, at the end, you said to me, your granny is a reflection of so many people that I have met in my life. And not only that, but a reflection of almost forgotten generation,
So, Matt, why did you want to take it that step further to connect with people that knew her and other family members?
I think it was important for me to get a real sense of who she was. And, as Johnny said, through the lens of different people, right? Like, as we all know, we're all so complex, and you could get a room full of 10 people and each one would have a different thing to say about you and how you impacted their life. So I just wanted to make sure that I was, in this development, not only honoring her, but honoring everyone's memory of her. And then, on a larger scale, making sure that, like, again, everyone in the audience can see something of themselves or their own story or their own family within her. And, nothing will bring that clarity like multiple people's perspectives. So it really was like a tremendous journey to go down the rabbit hole of her and my own Scottish heritage, and my family story, and my mother and my grandmother and my brothers and, like, all these people that are represented in this story. Everyone in it is so real because they're so closely inspired by real people we know. And I think that's what's really special about this.
So, how difficult was it to find the right actress to play Maggie?
I mean, it's sometimes in life, the big man upstairs just kind of touches things, and
Yes.
and that's how I felt when it came to Dharma Bezier, who plays the lead. We were at the Sheridan College in Toronto. We had the great opportunity to work with Michael Rubinoff, the Canadian musical theatre programme that was at Sheraton at the time. We had Mary Frances Moore and Bob Foster were there also, and we had auditions with some of the students at the school, and all these people were coming in and they were auditioning for different parts and different things. And this girl walks in, and I'll never forget it because she's got these piercing green blue eyes, and she walks in, and Matt handed her the music for one of the songs. It's called My Confession, and she started singing, and she just stopped the room. Everybody just kind of looked at each other like what is happening right now? And I looked at Matt, and I looked at Mary Frances, and Bob looked at me. We all looked at each other, Michael, and we just knew instantly that we had found our lead. We had found Maggie, and not only did she play Maggie in the Sheraton College, development production, but then she has now went on and she's toured the country with me. She did 122 shows across the country with me opening up as Maggie. She has blessed the stages in Hamilton and PEI, and now she's about to take the stage, which I'm so excited about, at the Savoy in Cape Breton. So I think people are going to be blown away by her ability.
Was there any of the characters that were a little more challenging to find the right fit?
Yeah, there was, Matt.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of fits, there's a really good sight gag in the show, and one of the actors in the show has to agree to wear. I don't want to give it away, but something sort of revealing. One of the male characters, and I mean, I felt confident that we would find someone who would show up ready to go and ready to put it all out there, so to speak. And we were shocked actually to discover how many people wanted to do that. So that was relieved pretty quickly. But honestly, we have so much talent in this country. We have an incredible cast. Like I really believe that the Savoy is about to have the roof blown off the place by the talent and the music and the energy of this piece. And I mean, the musicians, like, the orchestrations that have been done for this piece, like, the pipes and the whistles and the drums. And I mean, it's really an experience, and it is so supported by the most unbelievable cast. And we had such a pleasure finding them, and we've been very lucky.
So, I'd like to know, you have a very strong fan base here. The Tartan Army is strong for you, Johnny, in Glace Bay and all of Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Why was it important that it come to the Savoy?
It was the first place that, when this was happening and we started talking about, well, hey, maybe we should just put it up and let people check this out. I picked up the telephone, and she could probably tell you the story, but Pam, that runs the Savoy, I picked up the telephone and I called the Savoy myself, and I said, hey, is there anybody there I could speak to regarding bringing a show in there? And I spoke to Pam. She didn't believe it was me. She hung up on me. So I called back. I was like, hey, and she hung up again. And then the third time I got lucky. I said, look, missus, I'm dead serious here. Like, I'll video FaceTime you if you want. Like, I really want to have this conversation. And I get on the phone with her, and I explained to her how important Cape Breton has been to me in my career, how important Nova Scotia and East Coast has been to me in my career, how Cape Breton was built on the back of miners, and a huge Scottish influence on the island. And I just felt it was the most perfect place to bring Maggie. I felt it was the place to debut Maggie. And Pam was just so receptive, and she said, Johnny, I don't know how we're going to do this, but let's try and figure this out. So we did, and we went on sale, and we sold out a bunch of shows, and then COVID happened. And because of that, we had to basically reschedule. So what we had done is we had performed the show in Hamilton, and then we performed the show in PEI. But if the truth be told, the very first show was supposed to be at the Savoy in Cape Breton. It just kind of fell victim to COVID the way that a lot of things did at that point. So actually being able to bring it to where I was really hoping it was going to be is incredible. And I think that community and the people that I've got to know up there, I think that they're going to sit there and they're going to be moved. Their spirits and their hearts are going to be moved by watching my granny's story, because my granny's story is the story of so many. You know.
Yeah. So I want to ask you both this question. I would like to know, I'll start with you first, Matt. When you saw that first actual performance after the workshop and it's actually launched, what was that like for you?
It's hard to put it in words, to be honest. I mean, you know, and Johnny can attest, it's the same with any sort of creative expression, right? It's like you work in a bit of a bubble, in a bit of a vacuum, right? And then like slowly you expand the size of that bubble. So you'll go from like Johnny and I talking about the story to bringing in Mary Frances Moore as director and dramaturg, and Bob Foster as co-composer and arranger, and Michael Rubinoff as executive producer. And then like the team grows a little bit, and then you bring in the designers, and then you bring in the casting, and then the cast and the rehearsals. And then all of a sudden, this bubble burst, and you've got 800 or 900 people sitting there wondering what this thing is. And I mean, it's so many things. It's electric. It's terrifying. It's like so vulnerable, and it's so exhilarating. And then, to have it be so successful. We had a sold out run in Hamilton at Aquarius. I mean, the community just came out in droves, and that was, I would say, it was overwhelming and so validating. And so, I think it gave us even more sort of energy to go, yeah, we really need to keep going with this piece, because it is so connecting with people. And, I felt very relieved. I think I felt really relieved.
And what about you, Johnny? What was it like to see it the first time in its full state of completion, I guess, if we want to use that word?
To echo Matt, a very humbling experience, a very emotional experience for me. This was, when you take somebody that you loved, and as much as I did my gran, and you sit in an audience and you look up at stage and there she is. I mean, that was the goal behind this whole thing. When Matt asked me, like, hey man, what's your goal? I said, my goal is that I want to introduce my granny to the world. So to be able to sit there and watch her embodied on stage was terribly moving. I'll tell you what was even crazier for me was the first scene is my grandfather and my granny. And I never got to meet my grandfather. My grandfather died when my dad was 5. So for me to sit there and kind of watch my grandfather walk on stage basically was just crazy emotional. And then my father, I can't even imagine how my father felt when he saw it, for the first time. So it's just, listen, it's the same as my music. It's designed to bring people together, right? And that's what Maggie was. And if you look at her life, everybody on a Sunday would go to my granny's house and have dinner, right? She brought people together, and some things have never changed. So my hope is that she's going to continue to bring people together, and the people just happen to be, coming up here. The people are, Cape Breton, and I'm hoping that everybody comes out and gets a chance to meet her, and also gets a chance to sit down and reflect about the people in their life and some of the people that have shaped them to who they've wound up to be, So
why theater? Why not go for film?
Well, in the words of Justin Bieber, never say never. this is where it starts. I mean, Matt and I have actually spoken about it. I've already been approached by a couple of movie companies to talk about, putting it on either a short film or putting it on like a Netflix type thing, taking the story and putting it there. But the one thing that Matt and I have spoken about and that we've learned is that, if you start doing too many things, it loses focus and you spread yourself too thin. So we are excited about the potential of that. But right now, at the time being, we're really, really excited about having our own stage in the flesh, live in Cape Breton, and then we're talking about taking her to other places around the world. So we'll see. We'll kind of see what happens. I guess the sky's the limit. When you've got something of high quality and it's surrounded by a lot of talented people, and everybody doing it for the right reasons, the sky's the limit. So we'll see.
Great. Thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you. It's great to see you. And we'll see you at the Savoy.
See you at the Savoy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.